What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are giving you a state of the market and stock picks for March 11th, 2022. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Tomorrow is Friday. It's normally Take Profit Friday, is what they used to say. Now it is what is going on in the news is going to drive this market. Essentially, peace talks between Russia and Ukraine have stalled again, and inflation is at some all-time high, ridiculous numbers. The market, things are just bad in general. It's leading me to believe that the Fed are essentially going to come in extremely hawkish on a lot of different things. We'll see what the first taste of that will be next week. But the market, I think, is waiting for that. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if we continue to chop and continue to wind into a tighter and tighter wedge here with the SPY going into next week. Yes, you're going to get some news that we've been getting random news that has been popping us up, random news that has been selling us off. But again, this range between the 4150 and the 4300 is essentially where we're sitting at. Again, there's not going to be any other data or anything that's really going to push this market. The market is waiting strictly on Russia and Ukraine and how the Fed are going to approach. The Fed has to do something next week. I've kind of talked about this a little bit, so I've reiterated over this quite a bit, is that bond buying will 100% more than likely stop. And then 25-point basis, possibly 50-point basis coming next week will be talked about and how that's going to be approached. And then again, Powell reiterated that he wants at least a meeting or several meetings before doing anything more than that. I think he wants to gauge it and see, since you have a new element with Russia and Ukraine, is putting a lot of stress on supply. And so that is causing inflation to get out of control, which is something we have been worried about. So moving forward, what do we got going on tomorrow? Tomorrow's plain and simple. How are we going to open up? Do we open up down? Could possibly buy calls and ride the push up and then wait and flip into puts going into tomorrow. Again, I think this range is going to continue on into next week. I do believe it's going to get tighter. As you can see, it's already kind of been getting tighter over the past 2 days. And I think this will continue to play out going into next week. And then from that point, I think if we get a ceasefire or if we get a rate raise, again, that's something that is kind of what the market deems as being priced in. We could start pushing up from that point. I think we need answers. If we get those two answers, the market can become bullish at some point. So I think we have sold off a lot. Again, unless there's some major catalyst that comes out that we are currently unaware of, I don't see us selling much more past this point. Again, it could even the market could even be affected if Fed do decide to get a little bit more hawkish, considering how inflation is going. Bitcoin took a bit of a dive, but it is still holding. Like I said, again, not worried about Bitcoin unless it goes down to 32. Again, volatile markets. People bought Bitcoin the other day because of inflation. Is essentially an inflation gauge. Now we have to see where it goes from here. Now, as far as tomorrow, like I've said, in this kind of market, you want to keep it simple. You want to stay with stocks that are going to essentially bounce back. Your Tesla, your Google, your UPST. Chips have been doing well, but chips is a very sensitive one you have to be careful with because of the fact that if Russia and Ukraine can't work things out and more sanctions are placed on semiconductors, chips are going to take a beating. And that in itself will take down the whole market because everything relies on chips. So all your growth stocks, they're basically trying to hold up the market. So Tesla, again, it's broken down. Looks like we bounced off some nice support at that 812 mark today. could look to see us revisiting that 780 tomorrow. I want to see if there's going to be a new range from 780 up to the 860 mark. Could be a strong possibility again until the market determines. If the market decides to keep wedging, I could see that playing out for the next couple of days to get us into next Wednesday. And then when we get the FOMC meeting with Powell, maybe that will break us up to the upside or continue to push us down a little bit more. Again, I'm still bullish on the way things are. I think that we could still push up from this point. You're seeing it in these strength and these bounces. If there was no buyers here, these bounces would not exist. They would be very weak bounces, which we've seen some weak bounces. There's a candle, for instance, with a weak bounce and then a continued selling. We haven't seen that. We're getting some strong bounces. I think people are getting prepared for a reversal at any moment. Again, I don't foresee this going all-time highs quickly. I think there's still a lot to be played out, especially there has to be a lot more clarity on Russia and Ukraine before I think we start doing all-time highs and continue running. But then again, having a lot of the same old news will cause the market to become numb to the news and just continue to start running from that point. So again, Tesla watching that level. If we do come back up to the 860, I'm watching for that to get rejected tomorrow. More than likely it will. I don't see enough positive, especially with Gigafactory and stuff opening last Friday. We attempted a break and got rejected. So that should tell you that any positive news when it is correlated with an individual company doesn't really matter that much. Even Amazon today struggled, had that pop from the split, and then it just kind of sat and was dead flat most of the day. Again, the market is waiting on some answers. So watching those for Tesla, Google, again, it's winding tight as well. You got to be very careful with these, especially these big movers that move $50 out of whack. When they start winding tight, you definitely don't want to be on the wrong side of that. It's easier to wait till it breaks out and take a position. They still, even on the daily, they're building this big wedge on Google. Again, I can foresee us coming possibly even back down, revisiting that 25.23 by next Wednesday before we try to break out of here or we break down. Again, if we do break that 25.14 mark, we're going to be in some trouble, especially when your leaders, your Googles and your Teslas start breaking down, breaking critical supports. It is a bit concerning from that point. UPST on the daily, again, it's playing this range. It looks like it's playing this range from 100 to possibly the 160. Again, it had really good earnings that popped us up to 160. It is currently holding that 108 mark, so kind of watching that. It is winding tight, just like the rest of the market. The market is getting ready for a big move. Again, next week is going to be interesting. You're going to get a lot of fake outs until you get true digestion of what goes on next week. This is going to could be extremely volatile and pop up a lot or down a lot, just depending. If there's a ceasefire, we could ride things up pretty quickly from that point. The market may not really care about what Powell has to say. I think a ceasefire has the potential to do that. So just be mindful of that. If you're writing puts, if any ceasefire news comes out, those puts can be wrecked pretty quick. So I like that one. Chips are definitely ones to watch. Again, same pattern. We're starting to wind tight, but everything is coming into a wedge, especially all your big tech, your chips. Those are the ones to watch. So I want to watch this one again. Essentially, that 208 has been a pretty solid base, and we've been playing up to that 238 for, and then NVIDIA is one I want to watch. But again, any bad news, escalation, anything could send us either way. So we are very much heavily focused on news at the current state. But as far as that, the banks. I just want to kind of let's go over Amazon real quick. Again, Amazon had that split news. It's retesting the 20 from underneath. Got a little bit of a rejection. I want to see how this is going to hold tomorrow. I actually see this coming back down unless there's, again, ceasefire news or anything. Again, winding tight, just like everything else. You have to remember Google had split news and it held for a while and then it dropped. So don't anticipate that it's going to just go up, but don't anticipate it's just going to go down. You have to be in a reactive state. Pre-market, you need to see how the market itself, the general state of the market is, what the news is, and then realize midday is when news typically drops. So you want to be careful. So I've typically only been playing morning sessions, and then I kind of let events happen in the afternoon and I react as opposed to guessing, because a lot of times that's when your big news events drop and then the market goes haywire from that point. And you don't want to be on the wrong side of that. But the banks, again, they're doing okay. They're stable for now, which is good to see. There's been a lot of selling as long as it continues to be stable. Again, I think everything is just waiting on Powell, waiting to see what they do. Again, I think it all can change dramatically quick if there is a ceasefire. I do believe there will be a short squeeze like you haven't seen in a long time, if that is the case. But just know that even though there is a ceasefire, that the market's going to see a lot. Again, we'll see a lot of issues in upcoming earnings. A lot of these even the big corporations are going to get hit. Everybody's going to get hit bad from sanctions. So you just have to be mindful of that. Not to say that you can't play run-ups. I think a lot of these stocks will still have run-ups, but just be mindful that that earnings and afterwards, you're probably going to see some major changes. You might see another major correction from that point. I don't know about major correction, but you'll definitely see some volatility and some pulling back of the market again at that point. Again, I think this is going to be the rest of the year. You're going to see a lot of chop. This is just the way things will be. I think from this point on, because of the Russia-Ukraine incident that is currently going on, and then I think the rates are essentially taking a backseat to everything, and they are reacting to what's going on to the Russia-Ukraine war that is currently going on. So if you've made it this far, go ahead and drop a like button. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.